Hey, 42 here. As of 2015, there are roughly 4,200 religions in the world. Some are thousands of years old, and there are new ones being created all the time. Here's 7 extremely bizarre religions that sound completely made up, but they're not. Let's begin with the biggest religion on our list. In 2001, thanks to each country completing a census of their populations, this religion was found to be the 2nd biggest in New Zealand and the 4th biggest in England and Wales. Any guess as to what it might be? Strange, the answer is. It's Jedi. Yes, around 1.5% of Kiwis put Jedi or Jediism as their official religion. 58.9% put Christian, and then the next 2 spots were no religion and object to answering. So that puts Jediism as the number 2 religion in New Zealand, unless object to answering is a religion. There's probably no point in asking them if it is though. In England and Wales, 0.8% of the country claimed that their religion was Jediism, with the only larger faiths being Christianity, Islam and Hinduism. So, how did this all come about? A long time ago, in a country not very far away, the Galactic Council, I mean the national governments of many Commonwealth countries, let everyone know that they would be having a census. Many people on the internet decided that they didn't want to tell the government about their religion, and so one of the first online viral phenomena began, of people spreading the idea of saying that they were Jedi on their census. When you look at their beliefs, it's actually all pleasantly positive. They obviously believe in the Force and the inherent worth of all life within it, and much of the rest is just about not discriminating, being logical, and I'm guessing here, never ever talking about the Phantom Menace in public. Their doctrines have actually allowed them to be a fully recognised international ministry and a publicly registered charity, so if you've got some spare galactic credits lying around, you know where to send them. There are some people who you can imagine being mistaken for gods. Ryan Gosling with his annoyingly handsome face, chess champion Bobby Fischer with his godlike intelligence and quick thinking, or maybe Hugh Jackman if you saw him chopping wood high up on a mountain. But none of these people have an actual religious following. The unlikely man who does, however, is Prince Philip, Duke of Edinburgh and husband to Queen Elizabeth II. And his followers are not some extreme British nationalists. They are, in fact, inhabitants of a small island halfway across the world called Tanna, part of the Republic of Vanuatu. Vanuatu is a chain of islands in the South Pacific, just under 2,000 kilometers east of northern Australia. Tanna is one of the 82 odd islands and is populated mainly of Melanesians, a Pacific island people of similar origin to the Australian Aboriginals. An old myth exists on the island about a spirit ancestor who had run off across the seas to find himself a powerful wife. So when Prince Philip visited the island in 1974, arm in arm with Her Royal Majesty, one of the most powerful women in the world, they decided that he fitted the bill perfectly and declared him to be their god. I imagine he endured a similar fate as C-3PO did under the hospitality of the Ewoks during his visit to Endor. Prince Philip, being the affable man that he is, sent them a signed photograph. In return, they sent him a club for killing pigs. I can neither confirm nor deny if this had any connection to the increase in bacon consumption at Buckingham Palace that year. Prophet Jack, the Prince Philip movement's soothsaying religious leader, has claimed that a devastating cyclone which came to the island in early 2015 was a holy sign that the great prince himself will be returning to the island in 2016. We'll just have to wait and see. So, for our next religion, we have to travel all the way to... Actually, we don't need to travel at all, we're staying on the island of Tanna. Vanuatu has a number of cargo cults. These are Melanesian movements that originated from the native people coming into contact with the colonising societies who visited the island. On Tanna, about 50% of the population are part of the cargo cult called John Frum, which allegedly started with the visions of some elders in the late 1930s and became cemented when the American troops came during World War II. The name is said to come from when a soldier told the natives that he was John from America. The people saw all the wonderful cargo that these troops brought, such as lorries, radios, and the world's most iconic brand, Coca-Cola. When the soldiers left, the people knew that John Frum would surely return someday and share his wonderful bounty with them all. In a way, they were right, since the island now boasts an airport and some infrastructure for education, as well as a variety of Western brands. The people are very grateful and they share evenly amongst their community. February the 15th is known as John Frum Day, the date which they believe John Frum will return to the island. They celebrate John Frum Day with a military-like parade, marching through the island carrying the stars and stripes and scrawling USA on their chests in red paint, throwing some fireworks and beer pong, and it's basically the 4th of July. Our next religion is followed by a large number of atheists. I know what you're thinking. How can you have a religion for people who don't believe in religion? Well, the Pastafarians have a pretty good reason. Pastafarianism came about in 2005 when Bobby Henderson discussed the flying spaghetti monster in an open letter to the Kansas State Board of Education. This god is a sort of floating blob of wobbly noodles and meatballs. If this all sounds very silly, it's supposed to be. He came up with the idea in order to fight against a decision to allow creationism to be taught in schools, thanks to the campaigning of Christian groups. For those of you not familiar with the argument, atheists agree with the large consensus of scientists who believe that the universe is around 14 billion years old, with Earth being formed around 4.5 billion years ago, and that life has grown and diversified through evolution, with the smallest amoebas eventually leading to us, the pinnacle of human evolution. Creationists believe that God created the world around 10,000 years ago, and that each creature was made as it is now. It's called intelligent design, and it argues against evolution. Pastafarians' beef and whatever other meat their noodly deity contains with creationism being taught in schools is that it violates the secular nature of the laws of the USA. There is supposed to be a complete separation of church and state, and this includes schools. Creationism is a religious idea, specific to a few religions, not to all of them. Therefore, it shouldn't be a part of state education. To prove this, Bobby Henderson argued that he believed a supernatural Italian dinner was the world creator, and that whenever a scientist tried to carbon date an object to see how old it was, this god was there changing the result with his noodly appendage. He said his beliefs were just as valid as creationists, and therefore should be included in the curriculum as well. Seems fair? The idea took hold and spread around the internet, and the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster has many followers, allegedly leading back to pirates, who were the original Pastafarians. I'm sure you'll all be very worried to know that they think the decline in the number of pirates is a direct cause of global warming. Only the release of another 18 Jack Sparrow films will start to reverse this trend, I presume. So, from extra pasta sauce to extraterrestrials, let's have a look at one of many UFO religions that sprung up in the second half of the 20th century. Universe people, also called Cosmic People of Light Powers, is a group that believe a fleet of spaceships floats around the Earth where they subtly intervene in the lives of the good, assisting them on their way. And someday, the Ashtar Galactic Command, who lead the ships, will pick up the believers and send them off to another wonderful dimension. Most of the followers are based in the Czech Republic and Slovakia, thanks to the religion's founder, Ivo A. Bender, whose name sounds somewhat like the punchline to a politically incorrect joke. In 1997, he published the delightfully titled Interviews with Instructions from My Friends from the Universe, and he used this as a platform to begin touring with a series of public lectures. He eventually made his way onto national TV in both the Czech Republic and Slovakia. In the late 2000s, Bender began to realise that the alien world, much like Earth, contained both helpful and harmful people. The Saurians, or lizard people, were out to get us, and Bender was going to do all he could to stop them. It was all very reminiscent of the classic Czech novel War with Nudes by Karel Čapek, where the salamanders end up turning on mankind. In 2007, Bender's plan caused a security alert at the Slovak Ministry of Defense when his suspicious protection packages arrived, containing instructional CDs and promotional material. But if a man can't protect his country from large alien lizards with a recorded lecture and some flyers, then how else is he supposed to do it? He still fights the good fight, and you can see what he's up to on his website, universe-people.com. Just to warn you, you might want to put on sunglasses before you enter. It's more colourful than a teenage unicorn sock collection. Now, I'm not saying lizard people are real, but if they are, I'm pretty sure our next religious leader is one of them. Happy Science was founded in 1986 by the rather reptilian-looking Ryuo Okawa. He had read an inspiring series of books by Takahashi Shinji. No, I'm not talking about the baseball player, but the other famous Takahashi Shinji, who is leader of the Godlight Association. The books had a big impact on Mr. Okawa and made him see that he was actually the living embodiment of, among others, Christ, Buddha, and Allah. It was a tough decision, but he realised that since he was an omnipotent super god, he was probably overqualified for his job at a large Japanese trading company. So he resigned and began spreading the good word that he was in fact the great super deity El Cantare. The fact that this means the singer in Spanish is just a cosmic coincidence. To be a happy scientist, you need to focus on the fourfold paths of love, wisdom, self-reflection, and progress. No actual scientific knowledge is required, so don't worry if you've forgotten all your chemistry. You might need to forget some of your history though, as El Cantare has told us that certain parts of Japanese history, such as the odd massacre or two, definitely didn't happen. The politics don't end there, since the political wing called the Happiness Realisation Party was set up in 2009 and received a rather surprising 1 million votes across Japan's 300 constituencies. They didn't end up with any seats though. The main focus of their campaign was to double the Japanese population and to develop a nuclear deterrent to threaten China and North Korea. They really don't like China and North Korea. I'm not sure nuclear weapons are exactly what I would call happy science, but hey, I'm not the flamenco god of the universe, so what do I know, right? Our final religion has a much darker history than the others. It's all fun and games when it's British princes, lizard men, and El Cantare, but when your cult leads to murder and mass suicide, that's a whole different story. The Order of the Solar Temple was set up in 1984 by Joseph Di Mambro and Luc Jouret, and was a continuation of other groups Di Mambro had been in and founded in the previous decade or so. They started out in Switzerland and moved to a headquarters in Quebec, Canada in the late 80s. The religion was based on a mix of sources, the main one being the famous Knight Templar. Their idea was to reassert the correct balance of power in the world and to lay the way for the second coming of Christ, the Solar King. They also took inspiration from notorious British occultist ALEISTER CROWLEY. The Order's dark side was revealed to the world on October 1994, with deaths on both sides of the Atlantic. A couple and a young baby were killed in Quebec, with rumours that Di Mambro had accused the child of being the Antichrist. A few days later in Switzerland, both Di Mambro and Jouret were found dead, along with 46 other cult members. Not only that, but the bodies were discovered arranged in a disturbing sun-shaped pattern on the floor. The true story will never be uncovered, but many of the group had been drugged, some were shot, some suffocated with bags over their heads, and both buildings were on fire. Unfortunately, it didn't end with the death of the founders, and there were further mass killings in 95 and 97. It transpired that mass murders and group ritual suicides were all part and parcel of being a member of the Order of the Solar Temple. No thanks, I think I'm gonna go join the Jedi instead. Thanks for the view, subscribe for more 42.